literary luminaries, and welcome back to another Tuesday Talks. Today's Tuesday Talks topic is who or what are some popular authors or books that you can't seem to get into. It's funny because this sounds like a top 5 Thursday topic, but it's not, I promise. And I'm going to be very frank upfront with you guys. All of the authors or book series I'm about to name, I either haven't read much of or haven't read at all. So it's very much less that I can't get into them and more reasons why I haven't tried. So you'll see what I mean when I get into it. Because I mean the first one was actually literally the first thing that came to mind when I thought of the question, except it turned into who's the guy that writes all the books, all the books, which of course is useful. But I was thinking of Nicholas Sparks. I've never actually read anything of his. But the problem, I think, was that when The Notebook came out, when the movie The Notebook came out, everyone was talking about it so much, and it was this classic love story, and everyone should love it, and you start talking like that to me, and it is a surefire way to have me never touch it. So I've never seen the movie, I've never read the book. The closest I've come is I did go see the movie A Walk to Remember. I didn't know it was Nicholas Sparks until after I left. And I had no major problem with that. But then again, I watched that in theaters, so that was a long time ago. And maybe I'd like it more now since I've gotten more into romances and whatnot. But I don't know. There's something about the way people talk about his work and the little that I know of his work that makes me very hesitant to get into it. The second thing that I want to bring up is an author that I love very much, and I think I've actually talked about this before, but a series that I haven't read, and that's the Anita Blake series by Laurell K. Hamilton. Now, we've talked about the fact that on my bookshelves over here, up on the top shelf, that's a whole bunch of Laurell K. Hamilton. It's all the Mary Gentry series. I love the Mary Gentry series. Never touched Anita Blake. Now, a lot of people have asked me why. Since, hey Ryan, you like vampires, you like Laurell K. Hamilton, like why isn't this a thing that you do? And the answer is twofold. One, a petty reason, which is the Anita Blake books come out infinitely faster than the Mary Gentry books. And I'm mad about that, and so I just boycott Anita Blake. And, I mean, I found the Mary Gentry series first. I just picked up the book. It's one of my eternal third book curse books. I picked up Seduced by Moonlight, and I picked it up because I liked the cover, honestly. I knew nothing about it. And so I got into the series, and Anita Blake came along second. I was like, I don't want a new Anita Blake book, want a new Mary Gentry book. And the other is that I've heard a lot of people say, they're like, okay, you like Mary Gentry, that's cool. Does the amount of sex that's in it bother you? And I'm like, no, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but that's the plot. That's the point of most of the books. It doesn't bother me. And they're like, okay, it's worse than Anita Blake. I'm like, oh. And even people that I've spoken to that like Anita Blake kind of go, yeah, it's a little bit plot. What plot? I'm like, oh, okay. And I don't have a problem with that. Plot, what plot is fine. For those of you that don't know that term, it is a term generally referenced in either writing romance of some kind or erotica, that sort of thing, which basically means that plot? What plot? This is just sex. Just like it sounds. And so I've never picked up Anita Blake because I get my lots of sex vibe from books from Mary Gentry. That's not to say that I won't ever. And again, this goes for all of these. It doesn't say that I'll never get into them, but it is what it is. Also, and then the next 3 are very much along the lines of each other, sort of. Though one of them is different, and I will bring up the different one because if I don't specify, I'm going to get in trouble. People like James Patterson and Danielle Steele. I've heard really good things about their books. I've heard some people say some bad things about James Patterson, and I can sort of see from just a quick glance of his books what they're talking about, but very, prolific, very relatively well spoken of. Like these are people that I've heard of, these are names that I know, these are books that show up on the bookshelves a lot. The problem is the number of books they have out is daunting. There's nowhere easy for me to start that I know of. And if I do start, I don't want to spend the next 4 years catching up to them, because I'll have to read nothing but that, and we all know how long my TBR already is. So, I mean, I wouldn't be against getting into any of these authors, but there's so many books and so many places to potentially begin. I end up just paralyzed by it, and I don't do anything. It's one of the reasons why I haven't read any of the Wheel of Time series, despite the fact that I own the first 3 books. Yes, I know friends of mine that have told me to read it. I'm going to, I promise. My mom's reading them at the moment. She loves them, and now she's getting on my case. So. But the last person I wanted to talk about, and this is the one that I'm going to very quickly explain because people are going to get mad at me, is Stephen King. Now hold on before you go to the comments and freak out. I like Stephen King. I like everything of his I've read. I own a couple of Stephen King books I've read on writing. Like, I'm a fan of Stephen King. It's okay. But again, the problem with his is he's got a lot of books in a genre I don't normally read. And so it becomes very difficult for me to figure out where to start. Do I start with some of the more, classic ones? Do I read Carrie? Do I read Firestarter? Do I read Salem's Lot, Pet Sematary? Or, do I try to go in somewhere else? I own, what's it called? The Eyes of the Dragon? I haven't read it in forever, but I have it and I remember liking it. Do I pick up something like Skeleton Crew, read some of his short stories? I don't know. He's Stephen King, for God's sakes. He puts out like 19 books a year. I can't keep up with that. As much as I love his writing, he's daunting, and I don't know that I'm ever really going to get into him. And I understand that this makes me a pariah. I'm okay with that, because I know the truth. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other authors that are along the same lines that I haven't thought of, but my brain apparently inherently makes lists of 5, so you got 5. This is what I do. But let me know, who are some popular authors or some popular books that you haven't been able to get into? I tried to stay away from the obvious ones like 50 Shades of Grey because I've talked about it 19 times and I don't need to talk about it again. But let me know some of yours. I'm always interested to hear. So talk to me down in the comments below or on Twitter at KRyanFrey. I love hearing from you guys. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It is very much appreciated and very much helps. And hey, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, why not subscribe? YouTube will very kindly notify you anytime that I put up a new video, which should be every Tuesday and Thursday. But until next time, I will bid you all adieu, and I will see you all on Thursday for Top 5 Thursday. Hello, my literary luminaries, and welcome back to another oh shit, where are my glasses? They feel so big. Is Salem's Lot him? I'm gonna get that wrong, and everyone's gonna yell at me. I'm gonna be really mad at myself. Watch, all of these are gonna be wrong. None of them are actually Stephen King. Oh no. Okay, it is Stephen King, Jesus. Okay, that makes me feel better. I know some things. I can think of 2 people that I had to put that caveat up for. One was my friend Amanda, who is a good friend from grad school. Don't know if Amanda watches these videos, but she's a huge Stephen King fan. And 2 is my mother, who I know watches these videos. And I was going to hear her stomping up the stairs if I wasn't careful. No, I like Stephen King. I promise I like Stephen King. Don't lynch me.